I was very interested in Holmes' cases. My friend was a very clever detective. I very much admired his work. So I dressed quickly and went downstairs with Holmes. The lady was waiting in our sitting room. She was dressed all in black. Over her face she wore a veil. "Good morning, madam," said Holmes. "I'm Sherlock Holmes, and this is Dr. Watson, my friend and helper." Holmes shut the door and turned to the lady. "You're shivering, madam," he said. "You must be cold. Sit near the fire, and I'll get you some hot coffee." The lady moved nearer the fire. Then she said, "It isn't the cold which makes me shiver." "What is it, then?" "It's fear, Mr. Holmes. It's terror." As she spoke, the lady raised her veil. We saw at once that she was very frightened. Her eyes were like the eyes of a terrified animal. She was a young woman, about 30 years old, but her hair was already turning grey with worry. Holmes looked at the lady carefully. Then he leant forward and touched her arm. "Don't be afraid," he said kindly. "I'm sure we can help you. But first, please tell us your story." "Mr. Holmes," said our visitor, "I know I'm in terrible danger. Please tell me what to do." "I'm listening carefully," said Holmes. So the lady began her story. "My name," she said, "is Helen Stoner. My father was an officer in the Indian Army, but he died when I was a baby. After his death, my mother, my sister, Julia, and myself continued to live in India. My sister Julia and I were twins. When Julia and I were only 2 years old, my mother married again. She married a man called Dr. Grimesby Roylott. So Dr. Roylott became our stepfather." "Tell me about Dr. Roylott," said Holmes. "In the past, Dr. Roylott's family were very rich," said Miss Stoner. "But as the years went by, they lost all their money. Now, Dr. Roylott has only a large, old house and a small piece of land. The house is called Stoke Moran. I'm living at Stoke Moran with Dr. Roylott now. When my stepfather was young, he studied medicine. After he became a doctor, he went to India. That's where he met my mother and later married her." "My mother was a rich woman," went on Miss Stoner. "She had a private income. Every year she received a sum of about £1,000 from her bank. When she married Dr. Roylott, an agreement was made about this money." "What was this agreement?" asked Holmes. "If my mother died," replied Miss Stoner, "Dr. Roylott would inherit her income. After her death, he would receive £1,000 every year. But if my sister or I married, some of the £1,000 would go to us instead. We would receive part of the money." "I see," said Holmes. "After some years, we returned to England from India," continued Miss Stoner. "But soon after we got back, my mother was killed in an accident. At first, all our neighbours at Stoke Moran were friendly with my stepfather. They were very happy that someone from the Roylott family was living at Stoke Moran again. But my stepfather didn't want to make friends with anyone. Whenever he went out, he quarrelled with somebody. He is a very bad-tempered man and gets angry quickly. Soon, all our neighbours were afraid of him." "Didn't he have any friends at all?" asked Holmes. "His only friends were gypsies," said Miss Stoner. "These gypsies move round the country in bands. Dr. Roylott allows these gypsies to camp on his land. Dr. Roylott is also very fond of Indian animals. 2 of these, a cheetah and a baboon, were sent to him from India. They run around freely over his land. Everyone is terrified of these dangerous animals. So Julia and I became more and more unhappy," went on Miss Stoner. No servants wanted to live at Stoke Moran, so we had to do all the work. When Julia died—" "Your sister is dead, then?" asked Holmes. At once he became very interested. "Yes," said Miss Stoner. "She was to be married. The date had been fixed for the wedding. But 2 weeks before her wedding day, Julia died." Holmes leant forward excitedly. "Tell me exactly what happened," he said.